I think I'm saying that we struggle all our lives to answer it. That it's the struggle that is important. That's what helps us to define our place in the universe.
This is Beverly, Dr. Beverly, Dr. Beverly Crusher.
Look where we are. Here, all of us, in this moment. So let's do what we spent our entire lives learning to be great at.
And this is Crusher Convo.
And welcome to Crusher Convo, where I crush the conversation one episode at a time. It is time to watch the not so happily ever after episode of Beverly Crusher, the host. And with me tonight is the OG mini Bev creator herself, Rebecca. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you have been doing the mini Bev photos of hanging out. I mean, you're up across the pond, and so definitely enjoy those photos. And so you inspired me. Yet there they are. Mini Bev and Tiny Picard. I do have my own version here. But yeah,
a whole
so
wall
I'm
of them
super
above
excited.
me as well.
Yep. I mean, we could say you're a fan, right? Just a smidge. We're just
a little bit.
a little bit. That's it.
Okay.
Before we continue real fast, I do want to just mention my sponsor at Cherry Tree Incorporated. If you use the code CrusherConvo6, you will get 6% off your order. They definitely have brand new Ractagino mugs with different colors over there. So if you do want to grab one of those, just head to mycherrytree.com and use that code. And then don't forget to follow them on the socials at Cherry Tree Incorporated. All right. So due to the fact that this is the 60th anniversary this year, I have a new question, and I kind of feel like I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyways. What female character do you find inspiring?
Oh, gee. Gosh. Is it Beverly?
I had a hunch. But why do you find her inspiring? What is it about Beverly that you just love so much?
I mean, for me, it goes back to when I was a kid. So my dad passed when I was quite young. And I loved my mom, but she wasn't the best, you know? And so Beverly was like the mom. You know what I mean? Like, she was there, she did it all. She was raising her kid, she was doing medicine. I mean, I never really went into a career in medicine because of her, but I definitely feel like she influenced a lot of my choices to like study sociology and things like that. And I just think that she's great because she never gives up on what she believes in.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the one thing that really sticks with me is that, you know, she doesn't just go, if Picard tells her that she can't do something, she's just like, I'm doing that anyway because I'm going to be right. You know, instead of just being like, yeah, all right, I'll listen.
And she usually is right.
She usually is, exactly. But people should listen to her more often.
A little bit. Again, back to the little bit. No, you're not the only one. I've heard that from so many fans where they saw her as a mother figure, especially if they grew up, you know, without both parents or whatever the situation is. And Beverly was just that constant, you know, comfort, right? As a kid. Now, as you know, I did not grow up with Beverly, but I feel like I would have had the same reaction. I mean, I had my mom and my stepdad, and my mom was great. Love you, Mom. But, you know, she did showcase that kind of a great strength in something that you want to be growing up, right? So first off, let's go ahead and jump in. We are going to be talking about the host, and I'm going to go ahead and show a clip.
Commander Riker's asked to pilot you himself, Ambassador.
I am honored. I don't know when I'll be back.
I know. Have a safe trip.
Oh, I will stay safe, Dr. Beverly. I have good reason to return. I've researched Earth customs. This flower is given to express love.
Yes, it is.
All right, premiere date was May 13th, 1991. It was directed by Marvin V. Rush, written by Michael Horvat. The star date was 44821.3 to 44824.4. Do not ask me how star dates work, but I'm just going with it. And of course, the year was 2367. Rebecca, I do have a confession. And, this is very hard for me to admit, but I'm not a fan of the host.
I mean, I'm kind of iffy about it, to be fair.
This isn't a favorite. And it's not, it's not a favorite. I know. Granted, I think the story of it is great. I love the concept of that. What is love? The questioning of it and using Beverly and her struggles. I don't like O'Don. That's my issue. I don't like O'Don. I felt like he was a little pushy, especially when he was Riker. But I think that's what kind of threw me off, was just how much he was all like, no, we're in love. Let's just, and she's like, hang on.
For me, it was when he was in Riker. And I was like, that's weird. Like, that to me, that was the bit where I was like, I don't really think I like this. I don't really like Beverly, sleeping with essentially someone who's one of her closest friends.
A brother. They're like a brother and sister.
Yeah, she even said that to Deanna. She said, oh, he's like a brother. And then Deanna is all like, oh no, just go and go sleep with my Imzadi. It's fine. It's not really Riker, it's Odon. And it's like, are you kidding me?
It's okay. So here's the thing. I did love that we do get this romantic Beverly episode. This is after Cupid, where Picard got his little, shindig with Vosh. And we always see that with Picard. And so it was really nice to see Beverly happy and just, doing things for her own. And I loved that. And I loved Odon as the Trill Odon. I thought he was fine. And I understand his reasoning why he never told Beverly about the symbiont. But when he became Riker and he was just like, well, I'm still in love with you and it should be fine. And she's like, no, this is not easy for me.
Yeah.
And it took her time. She tried. It wasn't that she didn't. But that's why I'm like Team Bev at the end, because I feel like she would have totally fallen in love with, I think it was Kyrell, the female Trill who ended up taking Odon. But she did say, she was like, but how long are you going to have this body? Like, how long is this going to last? And we saw that with Worf when it was Jadzia to Ezri. And it's just a little different, I think, for them. But going back with Beverly, he was in 3 different, Odon was in 3 different bodies in like a 2-day span.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So, but I don't know. I just, again, like you said, hit and miss. It's kind of But when you first saw this episode, were you younger or did you see it older? Like,
I was let's go, May 91. I would have been not quite 12. So
okay.
a couple months shy of being 12. And I think the whole concept of it,
Which
as a 12-year-old, as a 12-year-old, you're just like, okay.
Like,
the whole, it was very, and then once we got into once DS9 started, I was a bit older. And then when we met Jadzia, and I was like, now I get it.
Yeah.
It was like, now I get the Trill, being 2 different people in a way.
Yeah.
But that was also one thing. And obviously I realized that we're not here to talk about DS9 or to compare Odon to the Trills in DS9, but that was,
we could.
One thing that I found really interesting as well is that Odon was Odon. Like, he was, the man that they thought was my father was me, and he was Odon. He was never his own separate being. Whereas the Trills that we see in DS9 have their own personalities, and they aren't just the symbiote. And so I thought that was also interesting, that Odon seems to just be a body.
Yes.
And he had no personality of his own. It was all in that symbiote.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that was kind of also the miss, I should say, for me. I love how they changed it up in DS9. I love how it is a Trill, like Jadzia, had her own personality, and she chose to have a symbiont, right? If you didn't want to, you didn't have to. And Esri was thrown into it, right? She didn't care to have a symbiont, but because accident, whatever, and she was the only Trill there, it was an emergency. And she struggled with those two hers and then of Dax. In this, it looks like Trill, the body is very mindless, just kind of a shell to host these symbionts. And that was kind of weird. There was a deleted scene, I remember, because Odon was in Riker's body. Odon was having trouble trying to be in Riker's body because he had different feelings, memories, all that stuff. And so he was struggling with it because typically when he just goes into a Trill body, it's just Odon, right?
Canvas.
It's a blank canvas. And you see that with Kyrell at the end. When she walks in, she's like, I will be host of Odon. And she's very like robotic, right?
Yeah.
Just no personality. Moment Odon's in her, she's like, hey, babe. You know, it's like all of a sudden she's just like lighting up the room. You know,
it's a very interesting, just like, they're like bred basically, you know, grown to be a host. They don't get to have their own lives.
Yes.
And, you know, and I think that could have added another layer to it if Odon had been someone else. You know, in the beginning, he was two people or whatever you want to say. And then that might have made the transition into Riker a little bit easier for us to understand because, as we said, Riker had his own life, his own memories that, you know, obviously would bleed through.
Yeah.
You know, and then when the woman came in, if she was like, "Oh, my name is," sorry, what was her name?
I think it was Kyrell.
Okay, I couldn't remember if she had a name or not, but you know, I'm Kyrell and I'm going to host Odon, but like, you know, this is me. Rather than it's like now she's Odon, and it's like, okay, so
because we don't know anything about her.
You're a 400-year-old blob,
right?
You know, like,
and
you know, and
it's a lot.
What do you do? Like, you're you know, you're a male Trill, and then now you're a female Trill. And if your host is such a blank slate, like, do you even know how to groom yourself? Like, do you know how to like brush your hair and put on a bra?
A little different, yeah.
You know, because like, assumingly the Trill should have those kinds of experiences,
right? Which we did see though with Jadzia. Because Jadzia all of a sudden had, 800 years or something of Dax. I'm probably over doing it here, but decades of Dax. And she's like, I remember being a father. Like, you know, but
Cisco would always call her old man.
I loved that, though. Terry and Avery had such an amazing chemistry. But I think with this, particularly with Beverly and then Riker, and I kind of wish they did keep that deleted scene because it would have given it a little bit more contrast to the character and just kind of knowing a little bit more about the Trill. But you're right. It just was too quick, thrown in your face. Hey, I don't, you know, I'm in your best friend's body, but it's fine. And it was hard for Beverly, and you could see it. And I think Gates did a wonderful job of conveying that because you could see she did really love him, even though it had only been this 2-week love affair. She did care. And here she goes through this transition of, you know, learning to, you know, move on from losing her husband and raising her son and doing her career. And now she's thinking about herself. You know, Wesley is now 18, I think, at this point, and she's putting herself first. And it's not that happily ever after. So that was very disappointing for me and heartbreaking to see Beverly have to go through yet another loss, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Right.
I think and also, I think if there hadn't been the bit with Riker, it might have been easier for her and she might have been able to make that transition into the new Trill. But I feel like because he was Riker in the middle, you know, that kind of turned her off a bit. Like, she still loved the guy, but also she's looking into the face of, as we say, her best friend, her brother, her friend's sometimes lover, you know.
It
So
was a
I do
lot.
think that, yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah. Also, I will throw in, I feel Riker was a little violated. I'm not gonna-
Yeah, yeah. You do kind of wonder, like, did he consent when they were asleep? When they faded to black, and you knew they were having sex? But did Riker actually consent to his body being
Poor Riker
used?
was just watching it in the background, being like, I can't do anything about it.
But then later, also in the later series and whatever, they never bring this up again. You know, like, there's never this moment where Riker's like, "We had sex, didn't we?"
We did it before Picard. He's like, hey, no, I'm just kidding. Now, I always had this thought process because we always say that it was very hard for Beverly because Riker is like a brother to her, and it really took her some time to try and just see him as Odon and not Riker. But what if Odon went into Picard?
Oh, that's a good.
Because she has
Wow.
feelings for Picard,
Yeah.
so she's going to be like, am I loving Odon or am I loving Picard? Am I loving,
Oh, yeah.
are these feelings like, oh, this is how I've always wanted from Picard? And so I feel like that would have been a good story.
That would have been. It would have been interesting, but then would it have brought less? But then also would have been interesting because then when we have the later episodes where they're like skirting around each other a whole lot more, like in Attached, then
Right.
that might have been like something that they might have discussed. Like, well, yeah, or
Yeah.
Beverly might have been like, well, my feelings for you more than Odon, because there's that one scene when they're in his ready room and he says, whatever I am, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
And it's like such a solid, like, Picard is like just being such the like solid friend. Like, he knows that this woman that he's been in love with for years is all of a sudden potentially going to be in a relationship with his first officer. And
Right.
he's like, it's okay if you need to do this, but I'm still here.
Mm-hmm. Just like Deanna did. Same thing, because they knew that wasn't really Riker, that was Odon. What I did love, though, is that they did, the writer was great about making Picard not jealous, but uncomfortable to know that
Yeah.
Odon was pursuing Beverly. And he was just like, and I love that he's like, I do not wish to speak for her, because he was asking him questions. But you can see that was a little bit of, ooh, to Picard. I'm like, dude, you were with Vosh not too long ago, so you deserve this.
Yeah. Yeah. You were kissing someone else, so let's not talk about that. Like,
Let's not talk about that. But he was concerned, like you said. He wanted to make sure that she knew he was still there for her, even when she was staying up to wait for the new trill because of
it would have been interesting
Odon.
if they had also shown that for Riker. Like, while Riker was Odon, if there had been some interactions with Picard and Riker, or with Deanna and Riker as Odon, where they would say, like, try and talk to him and say, we know you're still Riker, processing things and that kind of stuff, because that would have been also interesting to have seen how everyone else was viewing the Riker Odon. Were they still looking at him as Riker, or were they fully convinced and fully believing that there was no Riker remaining?
That's that deleted scene. Because it was a poker scene.
Okay.
It was a poker scene, and he shows up, and there's Geordi, Data, and I want to say Deanna was there. I can't
Probably, yeah.
remember.
That was their
Yeah,
usual crowd.
and right, and all of a sudden he was struck. He's like, I know how to play, but I've never done this before, and so you can see Odon struggling. It's a great
Riker's
deleted scene,
knowledge. Well,
and I
wish
wish
we didn't actually include it.
time.
Yeah.
Darn that time. But again, it's a great scene, and I probably should post it when this airs. But I think, going back to what you were saying, just having the other characters react to Riker would have also helped to also see what Beverly was going through. the struggle she
Yeah.
was going through, you know.
Because I imagine it had to have also been hard for Deanna, even though she gave Beverly her blessing and everything,
Which is weird, but
which is weird. Like, because why would you tell one of your best friends that it's okay for her to sleep with your lover when it's only a temporary thing?
right.
Like he's owed on for one night. It's like, it's like the like, oh, it's all right, it's go off, it's fine. You can one night, you can have one night. Like, but why? Like, I would love to also know like Deanna's thought processes to that, because like, what is she thinking? Like, telling. I mean, I understand that she's trying to support her friend,
Right.
but at the same time, you're like, but that is the man you're in love with, and it's not really a love triangle because Odon's only temporarily in his body.
It's very complex because you have Picard and Deanna over here with Beverly and Riker down here, and then Odon is like right in the middle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just this crazy circle of emotions for everybody. And I mean, and to be honest, Riker was just being the good old guy, just being like, hey, we gotta save him. I'll totally volunteer. Let's go. And it became way more complicated than he thought. And in that clip, you kind of he noticed that there was something because he saw Odon go straight to Beverly and had his hands on her shoulders, and Riker's just like, none of my business. So he had a feeling there was something going on, but I don't think he realized it was gonna progress the way that it did.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, I was just having a quick look. There actually is apparently a fanfic someone's written where they have put Odon as going into Picard instead of Riker.
I love it. You gotta send me that link. I was like, oh.
Totally
posted that on the description below, guys. We will post this fanfic.
It's on fanfic.net, which is not my favorite site to read fanfic on, but
old school fanfic site.
I know, but yeah, I mean, I deleted all my stuff off of it because I got mad at it, but that's
who hasn't?
Yeah, pretty much.
Back in the day. Now let's fast forward here. Like I said, Picard was concerned even for Beverly for staying up. And of course, she's expecting another male Trill, and it's not. And you see people say disappointment, people say confliction. Like, there's just a lot of emotions for Beverly at this moment because she doesn't know what to do. Now, she's professional. She saves Odon. It's great. And I will throw this out there. The TNG symbiont, the colorful, I love that way better than what they did in DS9 instead of that ugly brown blob. I'm like, why couldn't he be colorful? Come on. Why couldn't they make it all nice and pretty?
Brown blob reminded me of like if you are sitting in your doctor's office and they have like this is what 10 pounds of fat looks like thing. Like, that's what the Trill reminded me of.
Well, now I can't unsee that.
Sorry.
But again, it needed some kind of color, crystals, something. Come on. But, before we even actually get to the ending, the Gates was obviously almost 8 months pregnant during this time.
Yeah.
And so they had to do a lot of great covering shots. And it has my favorite shot of using Picard's head to cover her stomach as he's going down to look at Odon's symbiont, and it's covering her stomach perfectly. I was like, that's great. No
that's
chairs,
fantastic.
No plants, no bags, whatever. It's his head.
Patrick Stewart's big old bald head.
Love it. It is my favorite. I mean, because we all talk about how silly it is when an actress is pregnant, they're covering it up, and they're doing all these stupid little things. That, to me, was a classic. I believe the director of photography was... Actually, no, Marvin Rush, who was actually director of photography, who directed this. I'm wondering if he's like, I have an idea. It's just let's just keep the camera. Let's just put it right here and just slyly. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. You go back. And you're gonna notice it. So you ruined the brown blob for me, and I just ruined that moment.
I know that Gates has said over and over how ridiculous she felt that, like, here she is 8 months pregnant, and now they give her a love
story.
And she's like, really?
And she's all like, bless O'Don, the actor. I have it here. O'Don was Frank Luz. She was like, bless him. Like, he was all like, oh, you're very pregnant. But he went with it. He's like, let's go. Let's do this. And
yeah.
He's like, so did O'Don do that? He's like, what's going on? Hilarious. No, it's just, again, it's one of those things where there's a lot of silly, a lot of like, ooh, I can't believe they did that. And then heartbreak for her. So,
yeah.
But yeah, to the ending when Kyrell is there and now has O'Don, and she's all like, hey, hey, Dr. Was it Dr. Beverly? O'Don called her.
Yeah.
And Beverly is just like, I can't do it. And she had that famous line of, maybe someday our ability to love won't be so limited. Right. And It's a beautiful line. I even made a t-shirt with it because it's great, but you can't blame Beverly. It had nothing to do with her turning down because she was a woman. It had to do with the fact that it was just too much for her emotions to handle.
Yeah.
It could have been another male trail. It could have been anybody that O'Don went into, and she was still going to struggle because, again, 3 different bodies in a matter of 2 days. And that poor woman was just like, I don't know if I could put my heart even more out there and it get hurt.
Because I think it would have been different if, as I say, there was no Riker in the middle, and if they had known it was going to go into a female. If she kind of had that chance, that like day or two, where she could really think about if she was willing to be with a woman, because she doesn't get any time. It's just like, boom, here I am, be my girlfriend. And Beverly's like, wait, I don't, she's like, I don't know. And it's like, she needed some time to kind of process it, because maybe she might have been okay with it. Yeah. But the fact that it was just like, boom, here I am.
Right. It was just a lot to process.
Because it was, as we said, it was the same with Worf when Jadzia, the Dax and Jadzia became Ezri, and he was just like, I need time.
Yeah. And he gave it time. Like, that was the whole premise for season 4 was that should they or shouldn't they, for them, and realize it wasn't. And that was okay. I mean, Worf and Ezri really had decided, like, we're going to care for each other, but it's not going to be the same. And Ezri knew that. And I think it was also harder because Ezri did have a personality. She'd never wanted to be a host to a symbiote. And I think that's also what made this harder for her. But she had those feelings that Dax had for Worf. And so that was the struggle. With this of Kyrell and all, like we said before, they didn't have a personality. So it was just O'Don. And it was just like, no matter where we're at, I'm always going to love you. And she's like, great, but I can't handle the changes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump in real fast to the Nema Check It Out, because there is some good content in his book. And I only have the one book, Rebecca. I know you have like all 3. Right there.
Yeah, I've got the tech manual, the encyclopedia. I've got underneath my chair. I have the stellar cartography book that he did because it doesn't fit anywhere else because it's so big. It's just like under my chair.
But it's there. There you go, Larry. She has all your work there.
Oh, he knows.
He knows. He does. Here, so in Larry's book, another tale that could only be told in science fiction, Harvat's script gives Gates McFadden a rare chance to show Beverly as a woman of passion and even dallies with homosexuality, more precisely, asexuality, until the Doctor admits she is unable to accept Odon in a female form, which we've discussed that I don't believe is because she was female. It was just because
No,
of
I
the
think it was just
changes.
as we said, it was just the
Yeah.
abruptness of it.
Yeah. And then it's talking about more about Marvin Rush being the director of photography and becoming the director. It does say, though, he recalls that much that his effort went into helping Franck, which played the Trill Odon.
Okay.
Franck and Jonathan Frakes establishing a continuity for Odon and into disguising McFadden's 7-month pregnancy. And then he says, James Cleveland McFadden Talbot, her first son, her only son, would be born over the hiatus on June 10th in Los Angeles, a well-timed delivery.
Almost like you planned it.
Yes, I know. And it's true. They kind of had to work together, Jonathan and Franck, just to kind of, make sure that those similarities of Odon were there. And I think they did a great job. But again, with Riker, it was just weird for me. And I feel like it would have been a better story if it was Picard, because we know that there's a history. So
I think the only thing there is, though, since they never brought it up again, if Picard had been Odon, would this be another where we never hear about it again?
Most likely. Gotta love episodic television.
It would have been an amazing turning point in their relationship.
Just to at least acknowledge it. Like, as viewers, you see it, but those two never admitted anything until attached. And I think this would have been a good moment for them to at least, like, there is something there, but let's just be friends and then see what happens.
Also, if it had been in Picard, that she might not have even tried to have a relationship because of her feelings that she already knew she had for him. Because she wouldn't have wanted to be like, well, you're Odon, but you're Picard, and I have feelings for you, Jean-Luc, but you're also Odon. And then as well, Picard Odon, would it have been Odon's feelings or would it have been Picard's feelings?
Right. So, and Odon would have felt it, because in that deleted scene, he was saying how conflicted and how hard it was to have Riker kind of like in the, like a subconsciousness in the back of his mind. Riker's there. It's hard to have these two different personalities, but he would have known. He would have known that Picard had feelings, and that would have been brought up.
Yeah.
And then maybe Odon might have made the decision to leave instead of being like, oh, I'm in Kyrell, let's get together. I think it would have been interesting that if he left Picard and went into Kyrell and be like, I feel that there is something going on. I'm going to be taking a step back. So then it didn't fall on Beverly to make the decision, because I think a lot of fans kind of saw it as her being, like it said, like, oh, she couldn't handle it because it's a woman. Well, no, but she wouldn't have looked like the bad guy, is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
because definitely, as we say, I think if she had time to prepare herself, if they had been told that the only Trill available to be sent from the Trill world was a female Trill, and then like she knew that from the time that they left Trill with the host, then because how long was that? Was that like 2 or 3 days?
Something like that, yeah.
That was enough time for Beverly to wrap her head around it and be like, I'm cool with it, because for some people it does take them longer to wrap their head around something like that. But
yeah,
but at least she would have had that, feelings in her head, that the ability to think about it, to actually process it. I mean, I know a lot of people liken it to being trans, which obviously, yes, because you're going from male to female. And for me personally, like, my best friend is trans. We've known each other since we were children. And when she came out to me, like, she sent me an email to tell me, because she was afraid to talk to me and she didn't know how I was going to react. And my reaction was just to call her and go, okay, so what's your name now? Because for me, she was still the same person. But for other people in her life, in other lives of my other trans friends, some of them need a couple of days or need a week, need a month to like wrap their head around it. And so I do think that sort of just like bringing it on Beverly, like, hey, let's have a relationship. And it's like, wait, I need to think.
I need time.
Is part of what Beverly's struggle was, is because Odon was still Odon. But then, as we say, it was
But in
a new body,
3 different bodies.
and a new body. And that is the bit where it's like, maybe you need some time to process all this.
For Beverly, she also had to do that because she had that male version of Odon for 2.5 weeks that their romance was.
Yeah.
So she did have to go for, and she probably found him attractive. And that was also a question, like, is love just physical? Is it emotional? Is it all this stuff? So she had to go through like losing him and then also being a doctor, because all of a sudden she's like, okay, the host died.
Yeah, that had to also be a little
Bit of problem.
like, why are you doing the surgery on your lover?
Right.
Should you be? But then again, she takes care of Picard all the time, and it's like,
correct.
you know.
Exactly. But then having it like then Riker and then all of a sudden Kyrell, and she probably did the surgery. She did for the first 2 and definitely did the surgery for Kyrell. And so that, again, she had to process of losing that male version and seeing Odon as the female version. But like you said, it was too quick. If she did have known, like given a heads up of like a female is headed, she would have been like, okay, can we continue this relationship?
Like, boom, boom.
Instantaneous.
Here's the Trill that's taking Odon. Do the surgery. The Trill wakes up and is fine and gets discharged, and then is just like, hi.
Yeah.
You know,
and for us, our friends are going to stay the same, right? Like their transition, that's them now.
They're not going to all of a sudden turn into another person.
And that's the problem that Beverly, and that's the problem Beverly was going to have, because she's like, how long are you going to be in this body? There was just too much of a if,
but
a
then
what
there
if.
was also the fact that she didn't know ahead of time that he was Trill, that in theory he could live for thousands of years.
Right.
You know, and it's like, well, wait, like that could, you know, is that something, do you want to get involved with someone who you know is going to outlive you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, do they actually, you know, and I know like, do they age? Like, will there become a point where he will go into a younger body because his host has aged? Or do they wait until they pass to put you in a new body? You know, we don't know that. I don't think we know that.
I think they mentioned this stuff in Discovery, which I have not seen yet, because I know there are Trill in there. But even the symbionts like retire and die. Like I remember seeing something about like they go back to it looks like a river or something like that, where they're just
kind of
but like then we see Dax still going 800 years. So I don't know. The Trill species is so interesting, and there's so much that we could explore with that. And this being the starting point, it was a good start. I love the concept, but definitely needed to be worked on a little bit more. And I think because they were just focusing on that love story, they didn't really flesh out the Trill as much as they could have, like they did with Jadzia and Ezri in DS9. So, but let's find out what our listeners thought of this episode.
By tricorder.
3 votes. And again, guys, I'm so sorry. It was last minute. At least I got the 3 votes. Thank you so much. I'm sure Abby from First Flight is one of these. 1 vote, so 33% went to 5 romances. The other 2 votes went to 4 spa days, and 0 for 3 lost loves, 2 conflicts, or 1 goodbye. Where do you land when it comes to the rating? 1 to 5 for this episode.
I think I'd probably give it a 3, because it kind of fits in the middle for me. It's not, you know, it's not my favorite, but because it's a Beverly centric episode, it will be an episode that I rewatch when I want some comfort. You know, it's one of the episodes that I have downloaded onto my tablet. So when I'm on a long, you know, plane ride, I've got something to watch. But not, it's not in my like top episodes.
Absolutely. I agree. I am with you. Three Lost Loves. It's not horrible. It's not horrible. But I just don't like Odon, especially in Riker's body.
Which is
I was
fair.
like, come on, like, give her some time. Stop trying to force it. Like, he's even trying to kiss her, like, what, an hour after he.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, back off. I don't know. It just was a turn off for me. And then I just felt bad for Beverly. But I do think Gates did a wonderful job. I know Jonathan had, a very tough role here being Riker and Odon and have that conflict there. But definitely do love the Trill, and I definitely love where they went with it later on in DS9.
Yeah, I like
sure.
that it wasn't just an alien of the week, that they did decide to bring them back later.
Yeah.
And now we've got this, we've got these characters that now we know they are long lived and they pop back up.
Yeah, no, that's exactly true. But yeah, definitely a 3. And I'm so sorry if I have disappointed all the Bev fans that this is not a favorite.
I mean,
but
I don't really know any like diehard Bev fan who'd be like, yes, let's watch the host.
Let's watch the host. Yeah, we all
Usually
have our.
It's like, let's watch Remember Me.
Mine's Sub Rosa and Attached, man.
Oh, I love Sub Rosa. Oh, my lamp is downstairs, but I actually do have the 3D printed lamp, like a full size. I have a full size.
You have the full size lambda quadrant, a mini lamp.
There are like every time. Is it in here? I don't even know. Yeah. So every time I do a picture
Love it.
with Kate, we always have the lamp.
Love it. You got to.
And the first year that I had the lamp, it was Destination 2018, and we actually got a group of us together to cosplay for Sub Rosa. So
love it.
A whole bunch of us were in like various pink nighty stages of Beverly. So like we had like the long, like grandma you pink nighty, and then like the sexier pink nighty, and then my friend's now ex-husband, he was the gravestone. Because we're like, well, you can be the gravestone. So we're like, my friend made this like big felt gravestone, and then we had like the green gauze that we all wrapped around us and everything.
That's fantastic.
We walked in and Gates looks at us and she goes, I don't know any of you. But then she loved it afterwards,
Yeah. Yeah, of course she did.
She was like, oh my God, I can't believe you.
I mean, this whole Sub Rosa is such a cult classic and it cracks me up. I mean, I defend Sub Rosa with my life and just let people know, like, she did not have sex with a candle and he was not a ghost. Like, I
know, right? Everyone's like, ghost. You're like, Anna basic life form.
Who says it at the end? I mean, I could talk about this for hours. It's fine. It's fine. So, guys, I am going to go ahead and let you know what my next episode is going to be with the Sick Bay Spinner. It looks like I'm going back to the Cerritos crew with Wade Douche. I hope I'm saying that right because it's always just weird. But Lower Decks, I don't have a guest for this one yet. So if you would like to be a guest, Lower Decks. If you would like to be a guest, just hit me up and we can discuss this episode. But this episode, of course, is going to be on the 20th, which is in 2 weeks. But yeah, that is what the next episode is going to be. But let's go ahead and just jump into the Redhead Alert. Oh, right. Do not forget that all proceeds at my TeePublic store will be donated to this year's Trek Talks. Spread your Bev love with exclusive Crusher Combo designs, and let's make this Trek Talks the best year yet as they raise money for the Hollywood Food Coalition. As you can see, it is up to March 28th, which is when Trek Talks 5 is going to happen. They have amazing guests for that day. And it all kicks off with Gates McFadden and Tawny Newsome together, no moderator, just discussing their time on Trek. So it is going to be fabulous. You do not want to miss it. And a reminder about my giveaway. Once I get to 1,000 followers on Instagram and 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I will be giving away an autograph of Gates McFadden to a very special listener. So please spread the word and share my content to help me reach my goal. And you can submit a penny for your thoughts by recording off crusherconvo.com a 60 to 90 second clip, or you can email me your thoughts to crusherconvo@gmail.com and I will announce your penny live on the air. And last but not least, my Patreon shout-outs go to Leslie, Dave, and Grayson, who are my Commander patrons, and Chuck and Engineer Mark, who are my Admiral patrons. If you would like to support the podcast and enjoy exclusive extra content, just head over to patreon.com/CrusherConvo, and you can sign up for as low as $3 a month. All right, Rebecca, thank you for joining me tonight. Now, please let the listeners know where they can find you.
Right. Well, as we discussed before we started, Twitter's kind of dead. So pretty much you can find me on Instagram and Threads. I'm Anna on the Moon 79. I think I'm Anna on the Moon on Blue Sky. And yeah, on Facebook you can find me if you look for Anna on the Moon. My stuff comes up. Sometimes I come up as Becca Jane St. Clair because I use both. So I'm all over. Basically, if you see someone called Anna on the Moon or someone called Becca Jane St. Clair, it's probably me.
That's you. Yep. And also enjoy all the mini Bev stuff.
On YouTube. I
Huh?
just realized I wasn't subbed to you on YouTube. So I've just subbed to you on YouTube. I was like, oh, YouTube, I should probably do that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But guys, like seriously, like her mini Bev content, she is the OG. She's been doing it so long, and and it inspired me, especially when I was doing it with Lori with Little Riker over at STLV. So much fun. I mean, her minis see more things than I have in my entire life. Okay, so a little jealous. Never been across the pond, but they're like having croissants and coffee over it. It's amazing.
They go to Germany, they ride trains, they're all over the UK with me. They come to all my conventions, and up there I've got Cadet Bev. She currently is missing a leg because she fell and her leg shattered, because these are action figures from the 90s, they're kind of old. I'll get her fixed, but I had her with me one year at a convention, and J.K. Woodard, the comic guy, he was like, "Oh my God, I've never seen one." And then he's like, they were in my. I usually keep them like right here when I'm at a convention inside my shirt. And he goes, "I'm just gonna take a picture of your tits. I hope you don't mind."
You're like, well, thank you for asking.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, but yeah so much
Mini
fun.
Bev and hashtag Mini Picard all over Instagram.
You'll love it. Like I said, they are going all over the place, where I've just been stuck here in the States and not having as much fun as them. But it's okay. I'm not jealous. It's fine. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you for everyone that is listening and watched us tonight. I really appreciate it. And as always, live long and prosper. Have a good night, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Crusher out.